We are back for the 7th, maybe 8th round selection in this $500 Bulldog draft here with the Spike Week gang. Myself, Eric Bime for Trev and Silas, and we're just going to jump right into it. So let's go.
3, 2, 1, liftoff.
What is up, everybody? So we are going to be doing our 7th, potentially 8th round selection on this show. Unfortunately, I do have to jump. So what I am going to do is I'm going to give my analysis on this team, and then you're going to listen to Eric, Trev, and Silas make the decisions after I tell them the best course of action. So we're looking at the board right now. Let's run through our team real quick. It's Lamar Jackson, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Terry McLaurin, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle. So we started with this Philadelphia and San Francisco stack. We grabbed Lamar Jackson. And as we look at the board, it's looking like Rashad Bateman got selected. Is that correct? So that is quite unfortunate. So personally, for me, as we look at the board, we're seeing like Brandon Cooks, Elijah Moore, Zay Flowers, Michael Thomas on board for the wide receivers, but we also see Cam Akers, Dalvin Cook, which no one wants, Rashad White, James Conner, who is actually dead, and David Montgomery on the board as well. And I'm just going to give you guys my perspective on this, and then I'm going to let you guys talk amongst yourself. I think it's very clear that we should probably draft Zay Flowers here and then hit a running back on the way back. Personally, I like Cam Akers. I think there's a heavy chance that he comes back based on the guy behind us going 1-3-1-1 to start the draft. So we might be able to get Cam Akers. And if we don't get Cam Akers, I do like Rashad White. That's where I would personally be going with these two picks. But I am going to be interested, just like our audience, to hear what we actually end up doing. So without further ado, I bid you guys good night and goodbye.
I hate that I agree with Rob, but I totally agree. I feel, particularly given what he said and what we all know, and anyone that's watched the first few installments of this, of what our friend Braden, who is drafting at the turn behind us, has done with a 1-3-1-1 start, that he's likely craving wide receivers here, and we are definitely at a steep drop off at wide receiver. And in particular, there's one that we really, really want and really, really need. So I don't think that there's any there's air quotes value in Cam Akers, but I would rather lose Cam Akers than lose Zay Flowers on this team. So at least in the first pick, it feels pretty straightforward to me, but I'm open to hearing if either of you guys disagree.
No, that's exactly like right when I saw the draft board. I just said Bateman's gone. Well, we'll go Zay Flowers, and we have Cam Akers and White on the board. If this guy goes 5 running backs in the first 8 rounds, maybe he'll just be paying the rake, but that's the worst case scenario. And then we'll just take Brandon Cooks and keep stacking wide receivers. But I don't think he's taking a running back. So I think if we grab Flowers here, we probably get Akers on the way back. And
which is a pretty sick start. I think we all probably were praying Bateman would somehow get there, but even if he doesn't, you get the stack, and then Cam Akers as like an anchor running back in the 8th round on a 0 RB team with an elite quarterback and an elite tight end in this tournament seems pretty good. Silas, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think we're all in lockstep here. I think the easy pick is Zay Flowers just because he matches up with Lamar. And then, we get our choice of a running back coming back. Even if he does grab another running back, like I don't think up to Javonte, I could say all of those guys are pretty much in a similar tier. You can kind of poke holes in all of them, but you could see a case where they can be RB1s. So I really don't care which one gets back to us. I mean, I'd prefer Akers, but if Akers does get taken, this guy takes 4 running backs in his first, 7, 8 picks, and is done in there. Like, I'm fine with it. I totally he's the way he's been drafting. Like, this is 100% Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas, like back, right?
Yep. Yep, I totally agree. So I think all four of us are. This was the cleanest. I guess AJ Brown was pretty smooth in the first round, but this one was about the smoothest pick. I think we're on board with Zay Flowers, but we should talk really quickly because if Braden doesn't pick, we may end up just kind of auto drafting that second guy. We don't know if we'll be we're at this, for anyone listening, we're at this weird kind of, we're all in different time zones, first of all, which is kind of funny. And then we're gonna, if Braden doesn't pick, we may not be around to discuss our second pick before we go. So we're going to talk really quickly about kind of setting a queue here of the running backs that might come back to us after this 7-11 pick. So I think we're all in agreement, including Rob, that Cam Akers. You can take Zay. You can
putting it in.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the running backs, and if we talk for a few minutes, and he doesn't make a selection, we'll just let the queue ride. But I think we're all in agreement, and I'll let you guys, so I don't speak for you, that Cam Akers is the number one. I'm actually very high on Cam Akers this year, especially at this cost. Last year going much, much, much higher than this. And I know that the first half was not amazing for him. And frankly, he was away from the team and there was lots of chaos. But even when the Rams were so terrible down the stretch, I mean, he was one of the best running backs in fantasy with Baker Mayfield and no Cooper Kupp and Ben Skoranek out there as a wide receiver. And now with Stafford back and Kupp back, and they all they did was bring in a late round Zach Evans. I kind of think the Akers price is wrong, to be totally honest. In terms of where he racks and stacks with the other running backs. So to me, he's the clear number one out of this group. Rob mentioned, I'm really not interested in Dalvin, but I would be willing to listen if you guys disagree. Rob mentioned Rachaad White. I do want to throw David Montgomery in the mix with Rachaad White as well. Clearly, I'm not some big David Montgomery stan in terms of his talent or whatever, but if we're comparing the Bucs offense to the Lions offense, I think we're assuming a lot about Rachaad White's role, and I get it. I expect him to kind of catch a bunch of passes and be the lead there, but I'm not sure he proved much in terms of we should trust that he's just going to be this workhorse all year. We're all a little bit down as an industry on the Bucs offense with Baker or, God forbid, Kyle Trask out there instead of Tom Brady, whereas David Montgomery steps into this Jamal Williams role, except he's quite a bit better than Jamal Williams. He's proven he can be kind of a workhorse and catch passes. We know he's going to get goal line work in a good offense. And so he's also a very cozy pick for me in this range as that first running back on a 0 running back team. So I'm interested in what you guys have to think about how we kind of rank these running backs.
Yeah, I think these are just the dead zone guys who finally got pushed down to like the right range of the draft. And I think it's perfect for our build because these are all guys where, okay, we can project volume early in the season. James Conner, David Montgomery, I don't think they're good. They're just a guy, but there's Michael Thomas, of course. But yeah, I think Akers and White.
Sorry, Braden. Braden, if you're listening, I apologize, but that was too good. Go ahead, Trev.
Akers and White.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Adam Thielen, 801.
I don't have any analysis anymore, actually.
Man. Well, this video turned from a really thoughtful strategy to I'm pretty stunned. Wow. Yeah. Honestly, we joke about like the Michael Thomas, Brandon Cooks thing, but like if he did that there, I think it's like, it is what it is. I don't really like either of those guys. I really don't like Michael Thomas, but like structurally, take the best wide receivers on the board. If we're all wrong about Michael Thomas and he's old Michael Thomas, clearly he fits this build. You know what I mean? But the reach on Thielen is pretty crazy. But Trevor, Silas, do you guys want to bring up any of these other running backs, or Trev, you want to finish your point because it was very, very true.
This is a great 7-8 turn in 2019. But yeah, I think Akers, he left the team for a while and he came back. There was beef and they decided, okay, we'll cut Darrell Henderson. So I think they like Akers for whatever he is after his injury. I mean, he showed out at the end of the season. So I think he's the obvious pick. And I think the Rams are going to bounce back this season. They lost like 10 O linemen last year. Like that's just not going to happen. So I'm all for Akers here, but if someone's all in on White, I'd hear the argument.
What do you think, Silas?
Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, I like Rashad White. I think he has a good projectable volume, and we're going to say projectable volume, but that offense could be really bad. He does catch a lot of passes, which is interesting. The only other running back I was probably going to bring up was actually not David Montgomery, even though he has that RB1 upside case, is James Conner. Just because we know he's going to be on the field, but 90% of the time, if healthy. The key word is if healthy there. That offense is going to be bad, but he does catch passes. He's used all over the field. They were terrible last year, and the man was RB8 down the stretch. Like he was unreal. And he does correlate to both AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, so it kind of plays into that week 17, and even in week 15 he plays San Francisco, so he kind of piggybacks on our playoff weeks. I think Akers is the better pick, like in a vacuum, but does it make more sense to get correlated? I could go either way.
I think that's a agree, spot on, nailed it, 100%, no notes. I guess the question is, before we make this pick, is do you have Akers like quite a bit ahead of Connor? And for me, I do, but I'm willing to listen if you guys think that they're very close. And if they're very close, that correlation can be the tiebreaker. It's just, for me, I have Akers quite a bit ahead of Connor.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he's 4 years younger, and I just think they have a better offense in general. I don't even know who's playing quarterback for the Cardinals. So, he'll get the
Colt McCoy, baby. Colt McCoy
Colt
season.
I thought they had a 6th-round rookie somewhere in there. I don't know. I haven't paid
Yeah,
much attention.
Clayton Tune, right?
Clayton Tune. Yeah, that's the guy. God. But just in general, I think better offense just gives Akers more chances for spike weeks. And I think unless Tuchu's stealing his routes or something, I think he could actually get a decent amount of targets in the offense too, because their defense is something else other than Aaron Donald.
Yeah, I think Akers is definitely ahead of James Conner. That correlation piece makes it a little bit closer, but I do think Cam Akers has way more outs to being useful. I think there's a lot less injury risk with Cam Akers, and I know that really doesn't mean anything because we're in the middle of June and anything can happen in the next 2.5 months. I'm pretty sold on Akers. I think he's the obvious pick. I will just throw this out there. Do we think it's overblown that Javonte Williams is significantly hurt? Because he again
possibly,
is in that similar. Because he's in that similar, kind of range where he was going in the second round last year. That offense is going to be, or should at least rebound. Sean Payton loves to throw to running backs. Javonte can play every down if needed. I know they brought in P. Ryan, which again is probably more of a negative and is pointing to why Cam Akers is the pick. But figured might as well have that conversation.
What do you think, Trev? How are you? We should just quickly. I don't want to gloss over. I think that's the group, right? Akers. We're not talking about Dalvin. Akers is very clearly our one, but just to make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's, we talked about Rashad. James Conner, of course, makes sense and has some correlation. We talked about David Montgomery, and Javonte does have, like Silas said, if the injury is not maybe as big of a deal as we're assuming, and look, we all think it is. Everybody in the whole, that's why he's going where he's going, is because the whole market is assuming that this injury is a very big deal. And it probably is. But if it isn't, this guy was going higher than all these guys last year. Now has Sean Payton, has a Hall of Fame quarterback who sucked last year, but maybe showed some signs of life. I don't know. There are reasons to believe that Javonte could be in the discussion. It's just you really do have to squint. But Trev, how are you thinking about Javonte?
Yeah, I had 25% Javonte last year. I love him as a player. I think there's a chance he could actually fall back. I've seen him some rooms he'll start to fall.
That's true.
But I just think for our first running back, I hate to be we should play it safe, but there is a chance, if Javonte's even limited for the first 8 weeks or something, that means our first running back we're actually getting is at the 9-10 turn. And that starts to be a little concerning. So that's how I feel. I wouldn't be completely against it, but I just think there's a chance he falls back while Akers and Connor and Montgomery, there's no way they get back to us.
I also think
that's
it's just
a great point.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah.
As I said, I think that's a great point. Like, we've already been talking about it, like, with this only being a 432 person contest. Don't get too cute. Like, don't screw it up. Like, we know what Akers is probably going to be. We know he's going to at least play. Javonte could be put on PUP with if his injury kind of progresses. So just don't screw it up. Like, play it safe here.
Yep, it's in BBM. If we were drafting a BBM team or a DraftKings Millie, maybe we say, look, we got to really. And I don't think that Akers is not swinging for a home run. I think he can be a home run. But like, let's say that guy took Akers, and we were deciding between these other guys. We might say, let's swing for this home run with Javonte because we just got it. We singles aren't helping this team. We want the home run in this tournament. Like, we don't really need that. We don't really especially with this structure, dude. We have Lamar, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Terry McLaurin, Brandon Ayuk, Zay Flowers, and George Kittle. That is what is winning this thing for us. Let's stockpile some good running back bets without taking the unnecessary risk of someone like, and frankly, James Conner we could construe him as an unnecessary risk, even though he has the correlation because of what you guys said, a little older. Like you said, I don't like to do the injury thing, but like, come on, we can also be realistic about James Conner and his injury history. And the other thing about, like you said, don't screw it up. They just gifted us Cam Akers like a round past ADP. It wasn't like, like Javonte's a little bit of a reach if we were having that discussion. The room gave us this. So like, this is one of those. Every other pick, I guess the room gave us AJ Brown. And kind of every other pick thereafter was honestly why were some of those videos like over an hour long? So those were hard choices, man. Those were like really hard strategic choices. And I'm happy with what we did, but we really had to put the freaking thinking cap on and figure those ones out. This turn, obviously, Zay made a ton of sense. And now they just gave us Cam Akers. I think this is the one where we don't got to put that thinking cap on too hard. We want to make sure we're doing our due diligence, but the room gave us this one. Let's just fucking take it and run.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
All right, so we're going to make that pick here with Cam Akers. That's going to do it for the 7-8 turn, an actual short one of these. What the hell just happened? We stockpiled hours of footage here on this, and we got this one done in less than 20 minutes. Really quick for the audio listeners. I know I just ran it off, but to start through 8 picks, we were drafting a 0 running back team, and we started with AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. We came back around at the 3-4 turn and took Lamar Jackson and Terry McLaurin. 5-6 turn, little Brandon Ayuk, a San Francisco secondary stack, maybe a full-out stack later. We'll see about that with Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. And then, honestly, I don't know if we got lucky, but it feels like we got lucky to be able to close out a Lamar stack with Zay Flowers, and then we got Cam Akers around after ADP. So we've started this 0 running back team with Cam Akers and a really, really loaded rest of the lineup. So I'm pretty excited about this one. We will be back in a couple days. Generally, 2 or 3 days, 3 max, I guess I would say, with rounds 9 and 10 of this Bulldog $500 draft here on Underdog Fantasy.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.